What happens when royalty walks into a live interview and thinks the rules don't apply to them? In just 39 seconds, one comment turned a primetime exclusive into the most explosive television moment of the year. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because we're pulling back the curtain on royalty's dark side, exposing entitled celebrities and their shocking behavior the cameras never showed you. We've got the raw footage they don't want you to see, and you won't want to miss a single reveal. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think about this outrageous behavior. Now let's dive in. The studio lights were hot that evening. Diana Sawyer sat in her chair, poised and professional like she'd done 1,000 times before. Across from her, Meghan Markle settled into her seat, adjusting her dress, flashing that famous smile for the cameras. This was supposed to be a thoughtful conversation, a chance for Meghan to share her side of the story. But what actually happened shocked everyone in that room. Diana started off gentle, the way she always does. Warm, inviting, making her guests feel comfortable. "Thank you so much for sitting down with us today," Diana said, her voice calm and welcoming. "I know so many people have been eager to hear directly from you." Meghan smiled, nodded, playing the part perfectly at first. "Of course, I'm happy to be here," Meghan replied. Diana leaned forward slightly, her notes resting on her lap. "Let's start with something simple. Can you tell us about your transition? What was that experience really like for you?" It seemed like a straightforward question, easy, open-ended, the kind of thing that usually leads to a heartfelt answer. But Meghan's expression shifted, just a flicker at first. Something in her eyes changed. "Well, Diana, I think the better question is why no one prepared me for what I was walking into," Meghan said, her tone suddenly sharp. Diana blinked, caught slightly off guard, but she maintained her composure. Years of journalism had taught her how to handle curveballs. "I see. So you felt unprepared?" Diana asked, trying to steer things back on track. "Unprepared?" Meghan let out a short laugh, but there was no humor in it. "That's putting it lightly. I was thrown into a system that was designed to break me, and nobody cared." The audience shifted in their seats. You could feel the tension starting to build. Diana glanced down at her notes, then back up, keeping her voice steady. "That sounds incredibly difficult," Diana said. "Can you help us understand what specifically made you feel that way?" Meghan leaned back, crossing her arms. "You know what, Diana? I don't think you can understand. I don't think anyone watching this can understand what it's like to have your entire life picked apart by people who've never walked a day in your shoes." Diana kept her expression neutral, professional. "I think many people face scrutiny in different ways. But you're right. Your situation is unique. That's why we're here, to give you the space to share your truth." "My truth?" Meghan repeated, her voice rising slightly. "See, that's the problem. It shouldn't be my truth. It should just be the truth. But everyone wants to twist everything I say." "I'm not here to twist anything," Diana said calmly. "I'm here to listen." Meghan stared at her for a long moment. The silence was uncomfortable, awkward. The crew behind the cameras exchanged glances. This wasn't going the way anyone expected. "Okay, fine," Meghan finally said. "Let's talk about the real issue then. Let's talk about how I was treated differently from day one because of who I am." Diana nodded. "You're referring to..." "I'm referring to everything," Meghan interrupted. "The comments, the articles, the way people looked at me, the way I was excluded from conversations, the way decisions were made without me." Diana took a breath. "Those are serious allegations. Can you give us a specific example?" "Do I need to spell it out for you?" Meghan snapped. "Were you not paying attention to what was happening? Or are you just like everyone else, pretending it wasn't obvious?" The audience gasped. You could hear it ripple through the studio. Diana's eyes widened just a fraction, but she recovered quickly. "Meghan, I'm trying to give you the opportunity to share your experience," Diana said, her voice still measured but firmer now. "But I need you to help me understand what you're referring to specifically." "What I'm referring to," Meghan said, her words dripping with condescension, "is the fact that nobody wanted me there from the beginning. They smiled to my face and then stabbed me in the back. And the media, people like you all just went along with it." Diana sat up straighter. "People like me?" "Yes, Diana, people like you," Meghan repeated. "Journalists who ask questions but don't really want the answers. Who pretend to care but are just looking for the next headline." "That's not fair," Diana said, her voice finally showing a hint of emotion. "I've built my career on integrity and giving people a platform to tell their stories honestly." "Honestly?" Meghan laughed again, that bitter sound filling the studio. "There's nothing honest about this. You invited me here because you wanted ratings. You wanted the drama. You wanted me to cry on camera so you could replay it over and over. Diana shook her head. That's absolutely not true. I invited you here because people deserve to hear from you directly, without filters, without intermediaries. Without filters? Meghan's voice was getting louder now. You mean without me being able to control the narrative? Without me being able to decide what gets shown and what doesn't? That's how journalism works, Diana said firmly. We ask questions. We have a conversation. That's what we're doing right now. No, Meghan said, pointing her finger at Diana. What we're doing right now is you trying to make me look bad. You're asking loaded questions. You're pushing me into corners. This is exactly what I was talking about. Diana's patience was clearly wearing thin, but she remained professional. I haven't asked you a single loaded question. I've asked you to explain your experiences. That's all. That's all? Meghan's voice went up another notch. You're sitting there in your comfortable chair, in your perfect career, never having faced a fraction of what I've faced, and you're judging me. I'm not judging you, Diana said, her voice calm but steely. I'm interviewing you. There's a difference. There's no difference. Meghan shot back. This whole thing is a judgment. You brought me here to tear me down, to make me defend myself, to make me explain why I deserve to be treated like a human being. The studio had gone completely silent, except for Meghan's voice. Diana glanced at her producer off camera, then back at Meghan. I think we need to take a breath here, Diana said. This conversation seems to be going in a direction that neither of us intended. Oh, so now you want to take a break? Meghan said mockingly. Now that I'm actually telling the truth, now that I'm not playing along with your script, suddenly you want to pause? There is no script, Diana said, her voice firm. And I think you know that. Meghan stood up suddenly, the microphone pack on her back pulling at the wire. You know what? I don't have to sit here and be attacked. No one is attacking you, Diana said, remaining seated, her voice steady. Please sit down. Let's finish this conversation. Finish it? Meghan laughed. There's nothing to finish. You got what you wanted. You got me upset. You got your moment. Congratulations. Diana looked directly at her. What I wanted was a meaningful conversation. What I got was you deflecting every question and turning this into something it didn't need to be. Deflecting? Meghan's face flushed red. I'm deflecting? I'm the one who showed up here ready to be vulnerable, ready to share my story, and you ambushed me. I asked you about your transition, Diana said, her voice rising slightly now. That's it. That was my first question. Everything that's happened since has been your choice. My choice? Meghan grabbed at her microphone. My choice is to leave, because I don't have to tolerate this kind of disrespect. Disrespect? Diana stood up now too. I have been nothing but respectful to you from the moment you walked in here. I've given you every opportunity to share your perspective. You've given me an opportunity to be humiliated on national television. Meghan shot back. No, Diana said, her voice clear and strong. You've done that yourself. The words hung in the air. Meghan froze, her mouth opening but no sound coming out. The crew was completely still. Everyone was holding their breath. Excuse me? Meghan finally said, her voice dangerously quiet. You heard me, Diana said, not backing down. I've conducted thousands of interviews. I've sat across from presidents, criminals, victims, heroes, all kinds of people. And I've never once tried to humiliate anyone. But I've also never had someone come on my show and attack me personally for simply doing my job. Your job? Meghan's voice was shaking now. Your job is to build people up, not tear them down. My job, Diana said slowly, deliberately, is to ask questions and seek truth. Sometimes that's comfortable, sometimes it's not, but it's always fair. Meghan started pulling at her microphone more aggressively, trying to unhook it. I want this off, now. A crew member rushed forward to help, but Meghan waved them away. Don't touch me, I can do it myself. Diana watched, her face a mixture of disappointment and resolve. I'm sorry you feel this way, I genuinely am. Save it, Meghan snapped. Finally getting the microphone unhooked, she tossed it onto the chair. You're not sorry. You're probably thrilled. This is exactly the kind of circus you wanted. That's not true, Diana said quietly. I wanted a conversation, a real one. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair. Well, you're not getting one. Not from me. Not like this. Then how? Diana asked, spreading her hands. How am I supposed to interview you if every question is an attack? If every attempt at dialogue is met with hostility? Maybe you're just not the right person to do it, Meghan said coldly. Diana took a step back, absorbing the blow. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps you need someone who will just agree with everything you say, someone who won't challenge you or ask you to explain yourself. I don't need to explain myself, Meghan said. Not to you, not to anyone. Actually, Diana said, her voice measured. When you agree to come on a television interview, explaining yourself is exactly what you signed up for. Meghan pointed at her. Don't lecture me about what I signed up for. You have no idea what I've been through. You're right, I don't, Diana said, and I was hoping you'd tell me. That's why you're here. I was here, Meghan corrected. Past tense. I'm leaving. She turned toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly on the studio floor. Diana called after her. Meghan, please, we can start over. We can approach this differently. Meghan stopped but didn't turn around. There's no different approach. There's just people who want to use me for their own gain, and I'm done with it. I'm not trying to use you, Diana said, her voice softer now. I'm trying to understand you. Meghan looked back over her shoulder. Then you should have tried harder. She walked toward the door, and Diana made one last attempt. If you leave now, people are going to wonder why. They're going to make their own assumptions. Let them, Meghan said without stopping. They always do anyway. Diana stood in the middle of the studio, watching her guest walk away. The crew didn't know what to do. Cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of the disaster unfolding before them. Should we cut? Someone whispered from behind a camera. Diana shook her head slightly. No, keep rolling. Meghan reached the studio door and pushed it open. Before she walked through, she turned back one last time. You know what the saddest part is, Diana? Meghan said, her voice echoing across the now silent space. I actually thought you might be different. I thought you might actually listen, but you're just like all the rest. I am listening, Diana said. I have been this entire time. But listening doesn't mean agreeing, and asking questions doesn't mean attacking. To you, maybe, Meghan said. To me, it feels exactly the same. And with that, she walked out. The door swung shut behind her with a loud thud. Diana stood there for a moment, processing what had just happened. The studio remained silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Finally, Diana turned to look at the camera, directly at the viewers at home. She took a breath, composing herself with the professionalism that had defined her entire career. Well, she said, her voice steady despite everything. That was unexpected. We prepared for a lot of different directions this conversation might go. That was not one of them. She sat back down in her chair, smoothing her skirt. You just witnessed what happens when someone comes into an interview with walls already built, when every question is seen as an attack, even when it's asked with respect and genuine curiosity. Diana paused, choosing her words carefully. I want to be clear about something. My intention was never to make our guest uncomfortable. My intention was to have an honest conversation, to ask the questions that many of you at home have, to give her a platform to share her truth, her experiences, her perspective. She glanced at the empty chair across from her. But you can't have a conversation with someone who doesn't want to have one. You can't interview someone who sees every question as a trap. And you can't find understanding when one person enters the room already convinced that everyone is against them. Diana looked back at the camera. I've been doing this job for a long time, decades, and I've sat across from people in the most difficult moments of their lives, people who've lost everything, people who've been accused of terrible things, people who've survived unimaginable trauma, and somehow we've always managed to have a conversation because they came willing to engage, willing to be vulnerable, willing to trust the process. She shook her head slowly. What you saw tonight was someone who came here expecting a fight, and when they didn't get one, they created one anyway. The producer stepped forward, signaling to Diana. She nodded. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll discuss what just happened with our panel. Stay with us. The camera light went off. Diana sat back in her chair, exhaling deeply. Her assistant rushed over with water. Are you okay? The assistant asked. Diana nodded, taking a sip. I'm fine. That was just unusual. She completely attacked you, the assistant said. You handled it incredibly well. Diana set the water down. I tried to give her every opportunity, every single one. We all saw that, the producer said, joining them. The whole audience saw it. Everyone watching at home saw it. You were nothing but professional and respectful. Diana rubbed her temples. I genuinely wanted to hear her story. I wanted to understand her perspective. But she came in here with an agenda. And when I didn't follow her script, she lashed out. The way she spoke to you, the assistant said, still in disbelief. The accusations she made. None of it was warranted. Some people, Diana said quietly, are so convinced the world is against them that they create enemies where none exist. They interpret every interaction through that lens, and there's nothing you can do to change that. The makeup artist came over to touch up Diana's face before they went back on air. "That was wild," she whispered. "I've never seen anything like that in all my years working in television." "Neither have I," Diana admitted. "And I've seen a lot." She looked at the door where Meghan had exited. "I really did hope we could have a meaningful conversation. I thought maybe, given the platform, given the opportunity to speak freely, she might open up. But instead, she trailed off. Instead, she showed everyone exactly who she is," the producer finished. Diana didn't respond to that. She didn't need to. The footage spoke for itself. Every viewer had seen it with their own eyes. The hostility, the deflection, the personal attacks, the refusal to engage in any meaningful way. 2 minutes, someone called out. Diana straightened up, checking her appearance in the monitor. Professional, composed, unshaken. That's what she needed to project when they came back on air. "All right," she said to her team. "Let's finish this." The lights came back up. The camera light turned red. Diana looked directly into the lens with that same steady gaze that had earned her the trust of millions over the years. "Welcome back," she said. "As you just witnessed, our interview ended earlier than planned. Joining me now to discuss what we all saw is our panel." The camera pulled back to reveal 3 other journalists and commentators who had been watching from a separate area. They looked as stunned as everyone else. "Let me start with you, Patricia," Diana said to the veteran journalist on her right. "You've conducted hundreds of high-profile interviews. Have you ever experienced anything like what we just saw?" Patricia leaned forward. "Diana, in all my years, no. What struck me most was how you gave her every opportunity to share her story. Your questions were fair. Your tone was respectful. You weren't aggressive or confrontational. And yet, she treated you like you were attacking her." "That's exactly what I felt," said Marcus, the commentator in the middle. "She came in expecting a fight, and when you didn't give her one, she created one anyway. The way she accused you of having an agenda, when clearly you were just trying to have a conversation, it was stunning." The third panelist, Jennifer, nodded in agreement. "What really bothered me was the hypocrisy. She spent so much time talking about how she wants her voice heard, how she wants to tell her story. And then, when given the most respectful platform possible to do exactly that, she threw it away. She attacked the very person trying to help her." Diana listened, her expression thoughtful. "I want to be fair here. She's clearly going through something. She's clearly feeling attacked and defensive, but I'm struggling to understand how anything I said or did tonight warranted that response." "It didn't," Patricia said firmly. "That's the point. Your first question was about her transition. It was open-ended. It was gentle. It was the kind of question any interviewer would ask. And somehow, she turned that into an accusation that you were trying to humiliate her." Marcus jumped in. "And then she projected all of her issues onto you. Suddenly, you represented all journalists, all media, everyone who'd ever criticized her. You became the stand-in for everyone she's angry at. That's not fair to you. It's also not professional," Jennifer added. "When you agree to do an interview, you accept certain realities. You accept that you'll be asked questions. You accept that those questions might be challenging. You don't get to walk in and demand that everyone just agree with you and validate everything you say." Diana nodded slowly. "I think what frustrated me most was that I genuinely wanted to understand her perspective. I wanted to give her the space to explain things in her own words. But she saw that as an attack. Because she came in defensive," Patricia said. "She came in with her guard up so high that nothing you said could have gotten through. She wasn't there to have a conversation. She was there to perform her grievance." "That's harsh," Marcus said, "but accurate. And the way she spoke to you, Diana, calling you just like everyone else, accusing you of wanting ratings and drama, that was completely out of line." "It was insulting," Jennifer agreed. "Diana Sawyer doesn't need to manufacture drama for ratings. Her reputation speaks for itself. The fact that she would make those accusations shows how disconnected from reality she is." Diana held up a hand. "Let's not go too far. She's clearly struggling. She clearly feels hurt and attacked. My heart does go out to her in that sense. But," she paused, "there's a difference between feeling hurt and lashing out at people who are trying to help you." "Exactly," Patricia said. "And you represented that perfectly tonight. Even as she was attacking you, even as she was being completely unfair, you remained calm and professional. You kept trying to bring it back to a constructive place. That shows incredible grace under pressure." The conversation continued for several more minutes, the panel analyzing every moment of the interview. They talked about the body language, the tone, the specific comments that had crossed lines. Throughout it all, Diana remained thoughtful and measured, never attacking Meghan personally, but also not backing down from the reality of what had occurred. Finally, Diana wrapped up the segment. "I want to thank you all for your insights. And I want to thank everyone watching at home. What you saw tonight was real. It was unscripted. It was uncomfortable. But it was also revealing. Sometimes the most important moments happen when things don't go as planned." She looked directly at the camera one more time. "I hope she finds peace. I hope she finds people who can support her in healthy ways. But I also hope she realizes that not everyone who asks her a question is her enemy. Sometimes a question is just a question. And sometimes an interview is just an opportunity to be heard. Nothing more, nothing less." The camera held on Diana's face for a moment longer before fading to black. In the studio, as the crew began packing up, people were still talking about what had happened. It would be the subject of countless articles, debates, and discussions for weeks to come. But in that moment, Diana just sat in her chair, reflecting on one of the strangest interviews of her career. She thought about all the preparation that had gone into this, the research, the carefully crafted questions, the hope for meaningful dialogue, and how it had all fallen apart in a matter of minutes because one person came in unwilling to engage honestly. "You okay?" her producer asked again, sitting down next to her. Diana smiled tiredly. "I will be. It's just disappointing. I really thought we could have something important here." "You tried," the producer said. "Nobody can say you didn't try." "I did," Diana agreed. "I tried everything I could think of. But you can't force someone to have a conversation they don't want to have." She stood up, gathering her notes. "Let's pack it up. It's been a long night." As she walked toward her dressing room, Diana couldn't help but think about the empty chair across from where she'd been sitting, about the opportunity that had been wasted, about the conversation that could have been but wasn't. In the end, the interview wasn't about what was said. It was about what could have been said if only one person had been willing to listen and engage honestly instead of seeing enemies in every question and attacks in every word.